So it is the moment of truth. The fish have now gone into their new house here. They were not happy at all in that little tank for the last few months, and yeah, they look very, very happy. The little tank, they were just sitting in the one corner for the last two or 3 months, and now they're just swimming around looking very happy. Now, how did we get here? As most of you would know, two of my dogs had a little argument, and then one jumped on top of the other, just smashed the tank. So, which is okay. I've got a new one now, which is more than double the capacity. The last one was a 250 liter tank, and this one is around a 580. Plus, it's got a custom-made sump system, which probably holds another 100 to 150 liters of water once all the media is out. So usually they come with one compartment of mechanical filtration, one compartment of biological, and the final compartment where the pump goes, but I've added a second compartment where biological media could go. Now, as far as I love these guys who built the tank, they've done a wonderful job. I in fact bought another smaller tank, 250 liter tank, which I'll do another video on. As much as they're good with their stuff, with the tanks, their filtration systems are just, it's just the way they set up, the way it came. It does not make any sense at all. So I just thought I'll do a quick video as to what it was when it came. Well, we had lots and lots of bio balls, the plastic bio balls, which is okay, but I'm not a huge fan of those, so I've taken them out for the time being. They're in a big bag. So I had bio balls in here, and in there as well, and those biological, the ceramic rings. I think we had one in there, and anyway, it was all over the place. I had coarse pads over there, fine pads at the very top, and coarse pads, and medium pads somewhere in here, another fine pad in there, and I am thinking, what were you thinking? I mean, clearly they weren't thinking at all. Because when it comes to filtration, you have to work out where the water flows from and where it goes and the path it takes until it gets to the pump, where it's pumped back up into the tank. So that's how we sort out filtration. So here's what I've done. This is my hose that the water comes into the sump. So the water starts its journey from up the top. So at the very top, I've put up to about here coarse pads. Coarse pads are the ones which will, that's this one here. I've got some extra things like these. See, they're big, got the big holes. This is what's going to capture all the big debris. You know, I don't have any plants in this tank. I don't intend having any, but any large debris, your coarse pads takes it, and then it filters it down to the medium pads here. They're slightly smaller, or smaller holes. This is the medium pad. So it's stage by stage filtration. You go with the coarse, medium, and then finally I've got these fine pads all compressed in there. So the water travels through all these media, different sizes of media, first coarse, medium, and then fine. And then travels down here, and then crystal clear water goes up here, then into this compartment where I will be having biological material. It's still on order. I've got 9 kilos of Biohome Ultimate coming. Apparently that's the very best for the full cycle filtration. I'll get into it in a minute. So once it comes, hopefully these will go as well. I'll be able to fill both these compartments with very good quality biological media, which is called Biohome Ultimate. Now, and once that's done, hopefully I can get the full cycle going. When I say the full cycle, fish create ammonia. That's the first thing they create. Uneaten food, their poo, what happens is that gets turned into ammonia. And ammonia is bad. Ammonia can kill fish. So that's why we have biological media. One of the reasons we have biological media is because we need a lot of bacteria to convert that ammonia into nitrite. And once that's converted into nitrite, another set of bacteria will then convert nitrite into nitrates. Now in these first two stages, we call them the aerobic bacteria. Aerobic bacteria means they need oxygen. So they will be on all these surfaces, on these rocks, on this sand bed. Again, another reason I went sand bed is because of the surface area it gives for the bacteria. And on the surface of all these biological media. So when I have Biohome, around the surface of the Biohome Ultimate, you'll have this millions and billions of aerobic bacteria who will actually convert ammonia into nitrite and nitrite into nitrate. Now, nitrate itself is not a poisonous gas, but it's annoying. When nitrates rise, that's when you get algae blooms. Sorry. Now, we don't want algae blooms, and how people keep their nitrates down is by doing regular water changes, and which we all should do. But what if we can prolong those intervals so we don't have to do water changes every couple of weeks? Now, that's where the second type of bacteria comes in, which is called the anaerobic bacteria. So my Biohome Ultimate that I'm planning to get, it has very deep, pores. It's very porous. So there are channels inside the Biohome media which will house all those anaerobic bacteria. They don't like oxygen, so you wouldn't have your anaerobic bacteria growing around the surface level. They will be at the very bottom of this sand bed, which is why I've gone for a about 3 to 4 inch sand bed here. And the reason is I want a good colony of anaerobic bacteria at the very bottom where there's hardly any oxygen. All the aerobic bacteria of the surface layer will have taken all the oxygen out. So by the time water reaches down to the very bottom, there's no oxygen in it. So, my anaerobic bacteria will thrive. So that's one layer of my anaerobics. And Biohome Ultimate apparently is very good for anaerobics as well. And that's why I've got 2 compartments. I'm planning to put 2 compartments fill up with Biohome Ultimate. Now, when the water flow is fast, it's very hard to get anaerobics going because they're very sensitive to oxygen. So apparently Biohome Ultimate is pretty good because it's very porous. There are channels and holes inside the media itself, which are pretty, oxygen free, so to speak. So once that's done, hopefully I'll get that cycle going, and yeah, hoping for good results. And it's not set up, it's not finished at all. A long way to go. I've got 40 kilos of Bioscape Savory Rock coming on in a couple of days or so, and hopefully I'll be able to create some rock formations in the tank. The reason these stuff are from my old tank. The reason they're in that corner is because it's a 3,500 litre per hour pump, which creates a big wave, and as you can see, it's disturbing the sand even as we speak. So before I put these rocks in, I had this tank running for about a couple of weeks beforehand, before I put the fish in. There was a huge avatar there. The water has just pushed off all the sand into a side, and it was a big hole. So to avoid that, I've placed those rocks in there so I can play around with it and hopefully not disturb the sand too much. And now this sump system, it's actually a skimmer. As you know how sumps would work, the water actually enters from up the top and then travels down and then comes back into the tank from over there. Now I wasn't very happy with the idea because I'm going to have a lot of stuff down the bottom as well. For example, fish poo. Now you could even see some here. It's only been a couple of hours since I put the fish in, so the cichlids, they're messy. So I thought, oh well, I've got a fluval which I've set up. Again, when the fluval came, I don't know what fluval was thinking. The filtration, it was just the way they've arranged the coarse pads and medium pads. It just didn't make sense to me. So I pretty much bought my own stuff, coarse, medium, fine, and redid the entire around the fluval FX6. And I filled that with Seachem Pond Matrix, which is also apparently very good, very porous, that houses those anaerobic bacteria. The thing is with the fluval FX6, which is sitting right behind there, it's a very powerful pump. It sends through maximum output is 3,500 litres, so it's very hard to get those anaerobics going. And the other thing is, you'll need a lot of, for this sort of tank, you'll need about 9 to 10 kilos of good biological media to have any impact on the nitrates, because it's cichlids and the water volume is too much. So I don't even know how many kilos I put in my fluval FX6, but it just wasn't enough even in the old tank. It was okay, but not enough. So the reason it's there is because that's my fluval FX6 outlet there. I'm hoping, so I've got one outlet over there, water coming from the top, which skims everything, and then I've got that 2 outlets there. which will push the water at the bottom level. Well, that's the idea. As you can see, there's some of them floating around, and then sends them through down there. So it has sort of two stages or two different types of filtration, one at the top and one at the very bottom. The only problem is I don't want to put that filter head, or whatever you want to call it, I would like to put it at the very bottom so it'll collect a lot of stuff, but you can't do it with the sand. The moment sand gets in there, it'll ruin my pump. The sand will get into the Fluval FX6 propeller, and there goes the pump. It'll blow the pump. So I had to leave it a little bit higher from the surface, and I've put an old driftwood just as a safety measure, so just to make sure that, you know, when the cichlids play with their sand, it doesn't get into the filter. Well, hopefully it'll work. Well, I'll do another video once it's fully completed. I've only got the one heater going at the moment. It's fine because it's summer, but it's quite a cold summer this time. I mean, we're having 14, 15, 20 degree days. Well, it's not even summer yet. Summer is next month, but you know, usually November gets very hot, but this year apparently we're going to have rain. So anyway, it's not as bad. I've got the one heater going. It's maintaining the temperature at around 24, 25. But I've got another heater coming in a couple of days, so I'll put that in there as well. And yeah, today I cleaned all this media again after 2 weeks of running, because when I put sand first, it was so cloudy. Now, I went sand because I originally wanted to go with a cichlid specific media. Forget what it's called, but it's very expensive. For this tank, it would have cost me around $700 just to get the substrate. It's a sand as well, but it's it's a buffer, it's a pH buffer, and you know, the lot, which is very handy. And it's white in color, may have looked better, but it's just too much. So this didn't cost me that much at all. And yeah, well, we'll see how we go. And yeah, so basically, as I was saying, with the sand, I had to wash it over 2 days. You wouldn't believe me, I would have used thousands of liters of water just to get that, you know, pigments out of it. It was muddy, it was a horrendous job. So I don't know, next time I may as well just, you know, spend $700 if I'm redoing a tank, and just get the aquarium sand, not just pool filter sand. While it's cheap and it, you know, looks okay, it's a lot of work. Now, I had to clean this media today because I had to add a clarifier, because it was just too cloudy after days and days of filtration. These fine media here were just dark brown. I should have taken a video or a photo before I did that. It was just dark brown. It was collecting all the you know, cloudiness from the water. So I washed it, given it a full wash, and hopefully the sand has now settled. As you can see, it's pretty clear, and the fish are happy. I've added some bacteria in it. This is the stuff I use, just to make sure that, you know, I don't have fish kills. To keep that ammonia down, I'll be checking ammonia on a daily basis as well, to make sure that there's no spikes, because if I have a sudden ammonia spike, there goes my fish. So that's about it for now. I will be adding a few more fish into this tank because I've got a, you know, pretty good filtration system going. I'm quite passionate about filtration, you know, sometimes more passionate than I am about fish. Like they say, you can't filter it enough. I know people buy little canister filters, yeah, you just can't. It's just, I mean, my FX6 is probably the biggest canister filter one could ever buy, and even that, in a 250 litre tank, wasn't really doing the job. So that's why I went all out, one at the top, one at the bottom there, and both of them, the combined pump capacity, or the pump output, is about 7,000 litres per hour. That's the maximum rated, so I don't know what it is in real life, but at the maximum rate, this tank should be filtered about 10 to 11 times every hour. In reality, maybe it's a little less, maybe it's 8 times, but it's still pretty good. I would not know what in reality what the pump output is. So hopefully, fingers crossed, and hopefully my dogs wouldn't smash this one. And yeah, well, good luck to me.